A luxury cruise ship, a mysterious virus, 5 people infected, 3 dead, and the World Health Organization investigating. Sounds like the start of the next pandemic, right? Today, we're looking at Hantavirus, which has popped up on a cruise ship and is making the rounds all over social media. Hantaviruses, yes, plural, are included under the broader category of orthohantavirus. These viruses aren't new. We've known about them for decades. An important detail is that there are many hantaviruses, more on that later, and they can cause 2 different diseases, one that attacks the kidneys, called hantavirus hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, which is more common in Europe and Asia, and another that attacks the lungs, aka hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, which is primarily found in the Americas. The latter is the one in the news. Normally, you catch it from infected rodents, specifically deer mice in North America and rice rats in South America. The virus is in their urine, droppings, and saliva, and when they dry out and get stirred into the air, an unsuspecting person may inhale the particles, and the virus travels straight into their lungs. Now enter the cruise ship, the MV Hondius. Before it departed from Argentina in early April 2026, passengers visited remote areas of Patagonia, prime rodent territory. So with that, we can see how someone might have been exposed to one of the hantaviruses. But the number of suspected and confirmed cases at the time of recording is 8. So this begs the question, did all 8 individuals become infected due to exposure to rodent droppings? That might be the case since hantaviruses don't usually spread from person to person. But there is a particular one that does, and that's exactly why the World Health Organization, friend of the channel by the way, is paying close attention. Genetic testing was done and identified the hantavirus that is wreaking havoc on the MV Hondius as the Andes virus, which is unsurprising since it's the most common cause of HPS in South America. And unfortunately for everyone on that cruise, the Andes virus is the one hantavirus that has been found to spread from person to person, but only under very specific conditions. As it stands, investigators believe one passenger inhaled rodent droppings on a shore excursion. They developed symptoms on the ship, and then, through extremely close and prolonged contact, i.e. sharing a cabin, they passed it on to at least one of their fellow travelers. Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome is fast and it is deadly, so let's briefly discuss the symptoms. Symptoms usually appear between 2 to 4 weeks after being exposed to the virus, but it can take as long as 40 days. The first set of symptoms are similar to the flu: fever, extreme fatigue, muscle aches, chills, nausea, a severe headache, the whole shebang. The second phase affects the cardiopulmonary system. Fluid begins to fill the lungs, resulting in a cough, shortness of breath, and a rapid heart rate. Affected individuals can also experience cardiogenic shock, which is a condition where the heart is unable to pump enough blood for the body. Once breathing difficulties begin, patients will require immediate admission to the intensive care unit, as at this stage, mortality rates range from 30 to 60%. In this outbreak on the cruise ship, 3 deaths have been recorded thus far. In terms of treatment, there is no specific antiviral cure. Early hospitalization is key, and doctors provide intensive supportive care, including oxygen, fluids, blood pressure management, etc. So with all that said, we come to the question everyone wants answered. Could this go global? The short answer is no, for precisely the reasons we outlined earlier. Even though the Andes virus can spread from person to person, it requires prolonged close contact, so you cannot catch it from a stranger on the street or in a restaurant. That puts a huge dent in its bid to become the next COVID-19. Also, it's not airborne, another big strike. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, the specific rodent that carries the Andes virus lives only in South America. So if you're not going there to huff rodent feces, and you're not catching it from a passerby on the sidewalk, your potential for becoming infected is really quite low. This is why the WHO currently assesses the risk to the global population from this event as low. Authorities are being cautious in how they are handling the crew and passengers currently on board the vessel, with plans to have them disembark in the Canary Islands before being allowed to return to their home countries. Additionally, contact tracing is underway to locate and isolate any passengers that would have disembarked prior to the first case being reported. Look, anytime you hear about a new virus spreading, it can be pretty scary, given the recent pandemic and the fact that this one is very capable of sending you to the afterlife. But in reality, Hantavirus is more of a sporadic environmental threat than a highly contagious pandemic risk. At this time, there is no need for any undue panic. Let's allow the professionals to do their work, and hopefully, in time, once all contacts are tracked and either confirmed virus-free or isolated and treated, we can get back to planning our own cruise vacations. Or not, I wouldn't blame you. Anyway, like and subscribe for more public health news. See you on the next one.